This is Eric Olen. I'm the new head coach in New Mexico Lobos basketball, and this is episode 102 of the Talking Grammar podcast.
What's going on, everybody? It's Jeff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal, and this is episode 102 of the Talking Grammar podcast, as you just heard from today's guest, Eric Olen, the new basketball coach of the University of New Mexico men's basketball team. Eric was kind enough, obviously, to join us this evening, just not even 12 hours after he was officially named the 23rd basketball coach of UNM Lobo basketball. He is the UC San Diego, or was the UC San Diego coach. They won 30 games this year. This was the first year that program was eligible for the NCAA Tournament. Former Division II program that he oversaw their transition to Division I. The NCAA does not allow transitioning Division II to Division I teams to be in the postseason for the first 4 years. So this was their first year eligible for it, and they won 30 games, won the Big West regular season and tournament titles. Would have been an at-large team anyway. His net, his Ken Palm, both higher than this year's Lobo team, and this was a very good Lobo season. It's one that Richard Pitino helped him parlay into a job in the Big East at Xavier University that he took on Tuesday night, creating this opening that Fernando Lobo then launched a national search for. And by Sunday morning, the announcement of Eric Olen was made. Eric's a guy whose name was on a lot of lists. He's considered one of the bright up-and-coming coaches in the game right now. 44 years old. He has been since 2004 at UC San Diego, so this will be new to him. He's been 21. He's 44 years old, and 21 of his years have been living in San Diego. And he has a wife and 2 daughters that will be moving to Albuquerque, which will be a shift. But he was ready for the challenge. He was ready for the new opportunity. While he built up the attendance at UC San Diego up to 2,100 a game this year, the average. He's about to dive into the pit now, and the pit averaging 14,000 a game. If he can get it back up to consistent sellouts, which is by the end of the Pitino era, what they were really getting towards, especially during league play games, it'll be the upside of this hire is really high. If he is as good as some people think that he can be, he will certainly be selling the pit out again. Like it used to be, pretty consistently. So we shall see. There is a question about experience, right? He certainly spent 20 years at a primarily Division II program that did the transition 5 years ago, and in his first opportunity at the D1 level had a lot of success, but it took a little bit of time to build up to that. It's worth noting that in the Division II level, he went to 5 straight NCAA tournaments. The last one was actually canceled for COVID reasons, but they qualified for 5 straight NCAA tournaments. The year that it was canceled, they were 30-1, and one of, if not the favorite, to win the Division II national championship. This is not a guy who just came out of nowhere. This is a guy who's been paying his dues at the D2 level a lot, and then at the Division I level in the Big West, and wasn't flying under the radar for people that know ball. The people that follow basketball knew this name before today, before he took the Lobo job. I know there are a lot of New Mexico fans that may not know the name yet. That's fine. They're going to get to know him here pretty soon, partly in this podcast, and you're going to learn about his offense, his defense, some of his philosophies about how he built rosters at that level and how he's going to transition to how he's going to do it now at a much higher level in the Mountain West and at UNM. And I think you're going to like him. Certainly demeanor-wise, he's calm, laid back, and has been described as a guy that just has fun on the court, right? He's having fun. So hope you enjoy this conversation. Hope you enjoy all our coverage of Lobo basketball and all sports, really, at abqjournal.com. If you want to subscribe, abqjournal.com/subscribe is how you could do that to our print or our digital product. And we've been covering the search all week. Certainly, you guys have been looking at a lot of those stories, so I appreciate you guys for doing that. A lot of traffic on those stories digitally, a lot of traction being gained in the print product as well. So I appreciate you guys, those who do subscribe and support us. Support local journalism if you can. For now, I hope you guys enjoy this conversation with Eric Olen, the new basketball coach of Lobo basketball. Eric, first of all, congratulations. I guess welcome to Lobo basketball. I know you're not in Albuquerque just yet, but welcome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm fired up to be, part of the Lobo family, and can't wait to get to Albuquerque and get to work.
So people that are watching and listening to this podcast know you and I have known each other for about 2 minutes now. This is our introduction. So a lot of this is not any background knowledge necessarily of my own, other than what I've read, just like everybody else. So your introduction is going to be kind of, you get to steer it a little bit. I want to start with, what do you know about Lobo basketball?
Well, I've been on the West Coast for a couple decades here, so I've seen the program, and I've seen what it can look like when it's having success, and obviously last season is a great example of that. So I think it's a special program relative to all of college basketball, not just the West Coast. I mean, you have the Pit, you have one of the best home environments in the whole country. You have an absolutely passionate fan base that I am excited to be around every day and get to know and engage with. And there's just so much that draws me to this place, and I couldn't be more excited to be part of it.
At what point did you? I mean, I guess I'll ask this from two different angles. At what point did you know UNM might be the possible landing spot? And at what point did you realize that there might be another landing spot of any kind? I ask that because you know that your stock as a coach has been rising, certainly during this past year. There was also a restructuring of a contract a year ago that a buyout got lowered. All that kind of stuff kind of comes into play with maybe the chance of moving jobs at some point. So I'm curious, when did you think that maybe you wouldn't be at USD forever? And when did New Mexico specifically then get on the radar?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long answer coming here for that question. But so first of all, I would just say, like, UC San Diego is a really special place. I feel like I grew up here to some degree, at least professionally.
Pretty much did, right? I mean, 2004?
21 years, 9 seasons as an assistant, 12 as the head coach. And so it's not a thing where I'm someone that's like always looking for the next thing or bouncing around. I'm all about the place that I'm at and making it the best it can and continuing to grow it. And, I felt like I did that at UC San Diego for a long time. And, the success we had over the last couple of years, I would say halfway through this season with the start we had, some of the wins we had during the season, I could feel some of the interest picking up, and, just sort of becoming a little more open to what could possibly happen, having some conversations with my family. Obviously we've been here for a long time and those kind of things. And, but we weren't just leaving to leave. Like, that was never on the radar. It was like, if we could find, a great place, at a really high level program where we could build, really special basketball teams, that obviously appeals to us. And so as the season went on, and, you kind of see, everyone can kind of read the tea leaves of what jobs might be open for different reasons, right? Sometimes it's success, sometimes it's lack of success that creates the turnover. And, so you're sort of looking at the landscape, and hearing about things that could potentially open. I mean, this is one where, honestly, there were rumors pretty early, pretty much all season. About that wasn't a secret. So even before anything actually happened, this was something that I certainly had on my radar of, if that opens and there's interest, like, it's more than mutual on my side. So it was one that I was, kind of had on my radar to begin with. And so when things actually kind of happened recently, and then it all kind of goes fast from there. But it's an interesting process, and not one that I've been involved with in the past, because, I've just, like I said, I've been at the same place for a long time and just focused on doing a great job where I am.
Well, I've heard you explain the last courting, I guess, you had as a coach on with Jeff Goodman on the Field of 68, and I'll ask you for this audience, how did you get to San Diego? Is it Mobile, Alabama? Mobile that you're from?
Mobile, Alabama. Yeah, that's right.
So, how does an Alabama guy get to San Diego and spend basically 44 now? Is that right?
That's right.
So we're talking 50 years in I mean, 50 years, 50% of your life in Alabama and 50% in San Diego almost. So how did you get from Alabama to San Diego, and what were you doing in Alabama first?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of that's just good fortune and some timing, right? And so yeah, grew up in Mobile, Alabama. Ended up staying there for college. I played at a little NAIA school in Mobile called Spring Hill College, and the coach that I played for there was a West Coast guy who ended up back on the West Coast, and I was kind of just wrapping up school, had a few classes left, and wasn't playing basketball anymore. And he got the job at UC San Diego, and gave me a call and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming out to San Diego and helping me out?" And as a college student, just like without a lot of direction and not much of a plan in terms of my future, I thought like, yeah, this sounds great, And I got to San Diego and just realized for me a lot of it was just kind of being back in the gym, being back part of a team. I really value being part of something bigger than yourself, and I just think it gives me a ton of purpose every day to show up and come to work. And it's kind of that thing. If you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. And I think that realized right away, like, hey, this coaching thing is better than a real job. And so I kind of dove all in once I kind of got a taste of it, and I was
Here you are.
there ever since.
Had you ever thought of coaching at all before that? I mean, was it just even? I guess every player maybe in college thinks a little bit about it, right? I mean, what am I going to do when I'm done playing, kind of stuff? And coaching always probably is at least there a little bit. Was this the first time though you really were serious about thinking about coaching?
Yeah, it was something that I kind of felt like, when I was a player, I wasn't the most athletic or the most talented, but I had a pretty good feel and I could shoot it and pass it a little bit. And so I kind of realized as a player, hey, I pick things up pretty quick. I can help my teammates understand, what we're trying to do here if it's not clicking for them. And so I kind of felt like I could do that. It wasn't something I was seeking out. But when the opportunity presented itself, it did feel like to me, hey, I could be good at that. And then once I got in the door and realized, what it was about and how you're really helping guys kind of become better versions of themselves, I really gravitated towards that and was pretty quickly just all in on this as a career.
Well, I will, again, we can kind of dive into some of this when I write more about kind of your style, your X's and O's, how you formed your basketball DNA a little bit. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit through a lot of the D2 years. You were in charge or overseeing anyway. In charge probably isn't the right word, but one of the pieces that were overseeing a transition from D2 to D1 for the entire athletic department there. And the uniqueness of that, I imagine it was pretty challenging. But you also qualify for an NCAA tournament in your first year of eligibility for the Division I level. But people need to know too, though, you get qualified for 5 straight D2 tournaments. I know the last one was canceled for COVID. This wasn't your first tournament this year, was it?
No, it wasn't. And and I get it. There's different levels to all of this, and I'm excited to be at a different level now. But I think the Division II. My experience in Division II was so valuable for me as a coach, just really developing my identity, understanding how I want to play, how I want to coach, how to handle a lot of different situations. I think Division II is a great place to really, you can experiment a little bit, you can problem solve and be creative. There's not as many eyeballs on you or pressure in that situation. And so you have a little more freedom to kind of figure it out, for lack of a better word, and I thought we did that at Division II. We certainly found our recipe, and we had some really terrific Division II teams. You mentioned the COVID year. That one was 30-1, and we felt like the best team in the country going into the NCAA tournament that got shut down on a 22-game win streak. And
as crazy as it sounds, like San Diego State too. I mean, like you said, Mark Ziegler might not have been covering UC San Diego much when it was D2, but he was covering a San Diego State team that year. And there were 2 teams that year that were just loaded. And probably, while San Diego State may not have been the D1 favorite, you guys actually were among maybe, 2-3 schools that maybe would have been the favorite to win.
We were certainly one of the best teams in the country. And I say that knowing like we had taken teams to Sweet 16 2 times previous to that. And that 30-1 team was a couple orders of magnitude better. It wasn't really close to some of the teams that had made the Sweet 16. So we had big dreams for that season that kind of fell apart, but that happened across the world really, and we were just a little unlucky with that one.
CJ Moore wrote about you in The Athletic or New York Times. I don't know, even I know they're joined together now, but CJ wrote about you. Olen's personnel moves, X's and O's, and roster building approach all line up with the underlying success story of a program that has always had to live on the margins. Ingenuity by necessity, he called it. That's a little bit about what you're talking about, right? You figure things out at the D2 level that sometimes you don't get to control the pieces all the time as well as maybe you want and all that and all the circumstances. And it sounds like is ingenuity by necessity a fair description of kind of how it goes at the D2 level?
Yeah, I mean, right. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So we certainly had to figure some things out. I think that I think like across college basketball, but specifically small college basketball, or any lower ends of Division I.
Sure.
Like from the outside, you don't always know all the details of the setup and the kind of resources that are there. So like when I took over as the head coach, we were essentially a non-scholarship Division II school, and we were competing in the CCAA, which is one of the better Division II conferences in the country, where everybody they have 10 equivalency scholarships and we have 0, and we got to figure it out. We also have the highest academic requirements in the country, and you can't recruit everybody, and so you got to find ways to do it. It's not like our approach is never, well, we don't have this or we don't have that, so we just can't be successful. Like that's not how it works. There's always a path. You just have to find it and be creative and work hard and find solutions. So, we're really proud of the work we did and some of the, teams that we were able to put together given the constraints that we were under. And, and that sort of carried over into the transition, right? And that transition to Division I is very challenging. Not having the ability to go to postseason certainly affects your team. It affects the way you can recruit. And 4 years is a very long time. Like that's a career, to be not have postseason eligibility. So, and going into a very good league in the Big West. First year's COVID, we had, guys, not half, some of our team is opting out, and you only play 15 games the first time. And so you got to rebuild your team under the transition. And yeah, it did take us a little bit of a couple times through the Big West to sort of find our recipe again and how to be successful. But, I think building the program at Division at Division II was really helpful for me as we went through the transition, because even in those first couple years where we weren't at the level we wanted to be, there were still markers that I was able to recognize where I knew like we're still on the right path. Like I know the results haven't shown up, but because of the things that we're hoping to see and our experience in doing it, we knew we were on the right track. We were able to stay committed to our process and not let the results derail us. And then, eventually that sort of turned for us in that last year, where in the last year of postseason, ineligibility, we can't go to the postseason. We finished second in the Big West, won 21 games. And, I think that team sort of set the foundation for what happened for us this past year.
Well, the building it that way and through those circumstances, you're now taking, there's a jump up that you're taking. The Mountain West, even, for the next year, is still in its current makeup, and we'll be doing a transition in a year. But right now, it is a very good league that for 4 consecutive years has gotten 4, and 6, then 4, but at least 4 schools into the NCAA tournament for 4 consecutive years, and outside the power structure, really the Power 5 in men's basketball. It's hard to get multiple teams in, and the Mountain West has. So you are jumping into a program now that has expectations. There's good and bad with that. You do have some more eyeballs on you now. I'm noticing that at Lion Tree Arena, it looks like you guys averaged about 2,100 fans. The Pit will average...
that 2,100, we built it up to that too. We got
it wasn't
going.
Always 2,100, huh?
That's right. That's right.
you will have 2,100 fans at a preseason open scrimmage if you hold one, and maybe more. But yeah, you're obviously making a jump up in attendance and stuff like that. I imagine. I don't know how often you went to Viejas Arena. I know you guys played there, so Viejas at 12,000. The pit when it's good is going to be packed like that too. I guess first of all, as a coach, what it's like. I want to ask you what it's like coaching in that environment and why that may appeal to you, and what kind of pressure maybe, if any, you feel that puts on you now. You've got a whole lot of people that are there kind of counting on you to make sure they're happy.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, that's some of what drew me to New Mexico and to this program is the passion of the fan base, is the expectations. We welcome that, we want that. No one is ever going to have higher expectations for what our team is going to do or our program is going to do than I am, right? So we welcome the expectations, and we expect to meet or exceed them. That's our job, right? And we understand that, and we're excited about it. And that's what we want. We want ownership from the fan base, right? We want expectations. If you don't have that, then you don't have the kind of program that we all want to be part of and are excited about. So yeah, I'm fired up for it, and I can't wait to play in the pit, and feel that and experience it. And, those are the environments. And I think that it helps you in recruiting. And if you get the right people, it resonates with them. Right. I thought, just from our team last year, like when we were in those environments, I thought our guys thrived in that. Right. Yeah. And, we played pretty well in the opener at San Diego State, although we felt like it was a missed opportunity. And then, won on the road at Utah State.
Yeah, for Lobo fans that don't know, you guys beat Utah State and Logan even before the Lobos beat Utah State and Logan, which was a huge win.
Yeah, and I think part of that is who we're looking for in this, right? Like we're looking for guys that are competitive. We're looking for guys who want to meet challenges head on, who maybe have a little bit of chip on their shoulder and have something to prove, And so when everybody in the building is rooting against them, it fires them up, Like we want competitors, and so I think the Mountain West is full of great environments, and we're excited to go on the road in those environments, but we're more excited to have it at home, right? It's a lot of fun to go do it on the road when you get to have the same thing at home. If you got to come back home to an empty place, like it doesn't sort of land the same. And I mean, the pit and all the history and of the program and the teams that have come before and all the great players, that's why you want to be here as a coach. That's why we're going to get great players in here who want to be part of something special like that as well. And all of it's just really exciting for us, and we can't wait to get started.
Among the people I talked with earlier today about you, just asking what they thought was Dan Butterly, who is a former Mountain West deputy commissioner who basically oversaw basketball for the first, 20 about years of the Mountain West. Who's now the Big West commissioner. I don't know how well you two knew each other, but I'm sure you got to meet Dan at some point, Dan Butterly. Yeah. And he said that you would be, this is his quote, he said, you've been a tremendous asset in the Big West. His leadership, coaching acumen, and recruiting prowess have set a high standard. And the University of New Mexico is fortunate to have him. And we wish him continued success in his new chapter. So, that's the commissioner of a league who wanted to, was willing enough to speak on an outgoing coach, which doesn't happen from a commissioner very often. But I also know Dan, so I probably bugged him a little bit to give me something. But the whole league kind of knew what you brought to the league, and I'm curious now what Lobo fans can expect you to bring to Albuquerque. Do you know your staff yet? I'll ask you about style of offense and style of defense in the next question, but do you know staff wise? Or timetable wise, when you're going to be here and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So all of that we're working on right now. I've just been, on the phone all day with all of those things. Staff and recruiting are kind of the priorities here, and trying to put a great staff together, put a great team together. So I'm hoping to have a lot of that kind of finalized in days, not weeks. But a lot of it is still being sorted out as we speak. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say the transfer portal being what it is. Obviously, it's a ridiculous time for it to open during the NCAA tournament, but it is what it is. It is already open. There's a Lobo roster that has, I guess, 3 scholarship players technically still in. are still on the roster, and 2 that are in the portal, a couple that are in the portal that maybe could come back. Um, how are you handling the current Lobos? Maybe ones that are in the portal and the ones that haven't yet declared that they might test the portal, and how many potential UC San Diego players might come with you, if any of you had those discussions, and just kind of how you want to approach filling this roster.
Yeah, so we're like I said, that's what we're doing right now. I've been in touch with some of the Lobo players and have been able to have a few conversations. I'm working to getting in touch with everyone, doing the same thing with the UC San Diego guys and making sure that they hear from me personally. It's very difficult. We were on spring break, like we weren't able to have an in-person meeting. So I'm trying to, communicate with everyone and make sure that, we're able to have those conversations and discuss, everyone's future and opportunities and fit both on both sides of that. So
Sure.
Kind of like the staff, it's an ongoing process that we're working through constantly right now.
And one of your top assistants, I don't know how big a staff you had, but Clint Allard, is that how he says it? Allard, he will not be coming with you. I don't know how long that may or may not have been in the works, but he has already been promoted to be your successor at UCSD, and I'm curious what you think about that, and how important it is to have a good staff, like guys like him that you can trust.
Absolutely. I mean, staff is crucial. Nobody does this by themselves. I think college basketball gives head coaches a ton of credit in some of this, but these are team efforts for sure. And Clint was a big part of our team and our program, and I could not be happier. That was one of the highlights of the day for me, in what has been a pretty amazing day. But to have them go ahead and kind of make that decision and not waste any time and put him in place is, I mean, he's someone who played in that program and has spent over a decade with me in trying to build it to what it is. So I'm just immensely proud and of him and of the whole situation. And I couldn't, that's an important place to me. And I'm so thrilled that he's the one taking it over and continuing on what we built. So while I will miss him tremendously and the work that he did for us, and he's obviously a close personal friend, but couldn't be happier for him and his family.
I'm going to dive into a couple quick ones here on defense and offense. Before I do that, you're talking about how he was a player there and kind of grew up in the system a little bit. You did the same. You mentioned. I should have asked this earlier about taking the job, but 21 years at one place and then making the jump to Albuquerque. Have you ever been to Albuquerque? A little different than San Diego. I would warn against trying to surf at any of the lakes you might find around here and that kind of stuff. But I'm curious what you know about Albuquerque, and also how confident are you that after 21 years, the family, you and the family, are going to be able to make a move and feel comfortable in a new place like this?
Yeah, so I have not spent much time in Albuquerque, but I've heard great things, and I'm excited to get there and learn more and just really dive in and be part of the community. So yeah, can't wait to get started. We're going to get out there tomorrow, and spend a couple days this week out there, and we're really looking forward to that. And honestly, my family and I are really excited. We've been here for a very long time. We love San Diego. It was a special place for us, but this is a special opportunity that we're all really excited about. And community is important to us. Family is important to us, and we can't wait to get out there and really just dive in and be part of the Albuquerque community. And we're really just looking forward to meeting everyone and just getting to know everybody and getting started.
And for those that don't know, it's a wife and 2 daughters. Is that right?
Yeah, 2 girls, 7 and 9.
Nice. You have a unique setup too, where your new boss, your athletic director, and the football coach. Which there's no football team at UCSD, is there?
No football.
Yeah, but you guys are all with your families the new kids in town yourselves since December. I mean, Fern's had a hell of a first 100 days, or he's already hired an FBS coach and a basketball coach for Lobo basketball is a pretty big deal. But you guys all get to sort of go at it together a little bit. You're not the only new family on the block. The other two are right there in the same building with you guys at UNM. So that's unique, but it's also probably going to be pretty helpful for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, and Fern's been amazing, right? Getting to know him and the other leadership around the department has been really great, and just so appreciative of the opportunity. But yeah, I think it's cool, like that. You know, there's a lot of people there who want to help create the family environment, and there's some new people. Actually, you know, the women's volleyball coach, Gonchar, he worked at UC San Diego
His
very long time ago. We were both
his son and my daughter in the same kindergarten class.
How about that? Yeah, so we were both assistants years ago at UC San Diego, and so you know, we at least have at least one friendly face. And no, I mean, we're just so excited to be out there and get to know everybody, and you know, I can't wait for everyone to meet my family and just learn what we're all about, and how we, you know, want to just pour into the community and really build a life here.
All right. Defense. I saw Ziegler describe it as an unorthodox matchup zone. Is that a fair description? And without the pulling out the whiteboard and drawing up stuff for us, how do you explain your defense?
Yeah, so you know, we played more of the zone this year, but it's a lot of based on our personnel. So we have a lot of concepts on both sides of the ball that we sort of believe in and that are foundational to what we're doing. But one thing about us is we never want to be so rigid in our scheme or our coaching that players can't find their own way, right? Or maybe a really good player doesn't fit our style, right? Like, we have to be adaptive enough as coaches to make sure that we're putting players in position of strength, right? And tailoring our schemes to what our best players do best. So this year at UC San Diego, that team specifically was good in switching and in some of the zone. We were very interchangeable. So I think that's something we do well is, you know, be able to switch, kind of mix defenses. You know, people thought we were probably playing a little more zone than we were playing. We play a fair amount of man where we're switching, you know, we're switching some of the ball screen stuff.
It wouldn't be fair to call you just a matchup zone defense at all.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we mix it quite a bit. You know, and so for this season, I think that there was definitely some difficulties from opponents in sort of navigating. Was it matchup zone or was it man? You know, but again, that was in part due to some of the versatility of our pieces. You know, if we're able to find and add, you know, a little more size and rim protection, then, you know, there's other ways to kind of accomplish what we're trying to accomplish defensively. Like, you know, it doesn't have to just be this one version. But we did really lean into that with that team. And again, it's all tied together with your personnel, right? So our front court wasn't as big. And so then, all right, well, if we don't have as much rim protection and maybe we have a little bit of a disadvantage on the defensive glass, then now we're switching a lot and there's less opportunity cost to that. And we're really aggressive with 2 to the ball early because if you get it to the rim, we maybe aren't going to be able to block the shot. We need to create turnovers because if you get a shot up and you have a decent percentage chance of an offensive rebound, then that's not a great possession for us. So again, like, the way we're going to build our team is going to be based on the players we have and what they do at a really high level. And then we're going to tailor schemes to them and their strengths so that we're always the best version of ourselves.
Well, to that end, I mean, I guess if you knew maybe the rim protection and the rebounding and all that might be the disadvantage, at least a little bit, you guys forced almost 1 out of every 4 possessions a turnover. You rank 3rd. I'm looking at Ken Palm right now, 23.3% turnover rate. That may not be every year, I guess it sounds like, depending on the personnel. But but you made it work this year.
We want to create turnovers. We're going to be aggressive on that side of the ball. But we're also going to play to our strengths, right? So if I don't want to say, hey, we're gonna play this exact way, and then hey, we're looking at big guys in the portal. We're not, so like if we get the right guys, we're going to tailor our scheme accordingly. But we're always going to be aggressive. I do think that the turnovers are important, and we want to create margin there. I mean, one of the emphasis for us is always going to be possession positive. We want to win the possession battle. So we'll do some things in that as well. We held our own despite our lack of size on the defensive glass. I thought one area we would like to continue to get better was with that group would have been the offensive glass. But we did make some progress over we were really bad on the offensive glass a couple years ago, and we've made some progress in the last two because we, started sending more people to the glass and trying to kill transition, at the point of attack and doing different things. So again, we're not just going to be stuck in this is the way we play and there are no alternatives. We're going to be creative and again, adjust our scheme to make sure our players are in position of strength and they're able to do things at a high level. That's right. Like it's not just the players, right? Like we have to make decisions that put them in a good situation, and we can't be inflexible to the point that our players aren't able to play their best basketball.
That applies to both sides of the ball. So tell me what this flow offense is. Five out for the most part. Is that right?
Yeah. There's
and how much of that was just this year, and how much of it, might be flexible as well?
Yeah. So the offensive style is also flexible. So and a lot of this, right? Like I believe very much, right? Players win games, coaches lose. And so we want to put our players in situations where they have a lot of freedom, but we also want to create enough structure where they're confident in what their jobs are, and that's a delicate balance to strike at times. But we're not a play call team. Like we're not going to be holding up cards and everybody looking at the bench and, walking it up the floor. Like we're going to, we say if the clock's running, we're running. Like we want to keep it moving and we don't want to have to call plays. I try not to overcoach guys on the court. Like I think if they're worried about me all the time, they're not going to play their best basketball. We really try to empower our players when they're on the floor. We want to know what they think. We're asking them like, what do you see and how do what can we do to adjust? But we do have a framework and concepts that we believe in, and so it is 5 out. We set a lot of ball screens. So I think we've been top 5 or top 10 in the country in ball screen frequency over the last several years. But we don't just do it with one individual person all the time. So we kind of mix up who's in the actions and who's in the ball screens. If you watch us from last year, you might see our 2 guard setting a lot of ball screens or at least ghosting them out. Our 3-man play, set some screens and short rolls into space. If our big was more pick and pop. So a lot of it's going to be matchup dependent. Because we don't want you to be able to hide, right? Like a lot of teams want to switch the ball screen to defend pick and pop. So maybe they're trying to take their 5 and put them in a different position, but we don't want to let people do that. So we'll kind of have versatility in who can be setting the ball screen. We set guard to guard. We set big to big ball screens. There's a lot of fluidity and creativity to what we're doing offensively, but we build enough structure so that when the ball screen is set, everybody on the floor knows their job based on where it is on the floor, what's the spacing of the court when it happens. There are some defined concepts within that where once the ball screen is set, the spacing and the location of the players are going to dictate different actions. And then there's decision making, right? So we want the guy with the ball. We talk about empowering them. Like I want whoever has the ball to have what we would call a 2-way go. You never having like, oh, I have to go this direction because coach says I got to dribble over here. Like get to the rim, make a play, like put pressure on the rim. So we want to be aggressive in that. So every ball screen is going to have a use or reject decision. The screener is going to have a roll pop decision, and everyone else on the floor is going to make decisions based on what they're seeing, both from the action and the defense. So we do create a framework. There is a more structure than it might seem. And then as guys get comfortable, we allow them to kind of create some randomness and sort of, different things that they read. Like, we want them to go make plays and do the things that they see. And then we try to help them see it come and play with anticipation and just execute at a high level, both on and off the ball. So that's kind of a high level version of it. Like, I'd be happy to get into the more details if you want to bust out the whiteboard, but it's definitely about like trying to create freedom, but not so much that guys can't anticipate what's coming.
And that's why you got to recruit, I guess, the right players for it that have some basketball IQ. Can't just be athletes. It's got to be some athletes that can show that they can make the decision making as well. That kind of stuff. And that's why you got to get to work. So I'll probably wrap this 15-minute interview that I promised. That is now well over 30 minutes. I will wrap it up with these last couple questions. 2 more.
Sounds good.
You sound like an analytics guy. You sound like you certainly know the numbers. I have KenPom open. I can't imagine a day without opening KenPom at least once, because that's just a good starting point. I know there's a lot more. There's even just Torvix and stuff like that, but Synergy has all these stats and all that. How much are you analytics kind of based? Like, how much of your coaching day goes without looking at some numbers that aren't just points per game or traditional kind of stat box numbers?
Yeah, I don't spend much time on the traditional box score. I couldn't tell you how many points our guys scored, like at their averages. I couldn't tell you their rebounds. I could tell you their usage and their true shooting and their offensive rebound percentage or steal percentage. We have some different analytics and metrics that we really value and think are important. And we try to show our guys and teach our guys why that's important and how it leads to both our team success and their individual success, and we try to take a modern approach to basketball. And I think that a lot of the things that we care about are some of the things that I think you see and emphasized in professional basketball, both in the NBA and abroad. And so I think that once you kind of are able to show guys how it benefits them, why we're using it, and how it also has a chance to help them create more value for themselves from a professional standpoint, I think that's when I think guys can get excited about it. And I don't expect them to be diving into the numbers the same way I am, but I do think it's important to understand why we're trying to do the things we're doing and how it both helps our team and it helps them, and we had guys have really just unbelievable seasons because they bought into
the Big West Player of the Year. Yeah, you had the Big West Player of the Year, and in a really unique story too. One reporter who covers the Big West sent me a message today that he thought that was the story of the year in the Big West was you getting, and I'm going to give me a try here. Let me take a try at Aniwaniwa. Aniwa. I knew that actually because I heard them talk about it actually on the Field of 60. I heard Goodman and them talking about it just recently. They thought they kind of picked him to be maybe the star of the tournament that people would know about. Tate Jones, and he was the Big West Player of the Year. You get him from Hawaii Hilo, right?
Yep.
He was a 6'6" kind of wing forward, and he is the Big West Player of the Year, high usage rate, all that kind of stuff. And he seems to be kind of what you're talking about, where if you can kind of show them, the right usage, and the stats that you guys look at, even if they don't look at them, they can buy into it and become pretty good. Individuals can become good individuals in this offense, even though I know it's a team concept.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want individuals to progress, right? Like, individual development is collective improvement, right? So, Niwa did a great job of buying into, right? He has a unique game. Doesn't shoot the ball great from the perimeter. He was honestly a forward, like kind of almost undersized 5 at the Division II level, and we turned him into a wing / backup point guard. And just put the ball in his hands. He's got a unique ability to draw fouls where he's efficient. He's a great finisher around the rim. And then we provide space with shooting around him, and he's a good passer, right? So if you put 2 on the ball, he's going to get other guys involved. If he's a difficult matchup one-on-one. And then from some of that too, right? Like with the shooting, we're able to create switches. So then we're able to hunt matchups. And so you might start with him on a good matchup, but if you're switching screens, we're going to change those matchups. We're going to get him into situations where he can take advantage of. And now you're back to having to put 2 on the basketball, and he's making a good decision. So, he had a phenomenal year. He absolutely bought into, here are the things I'm good at. I'm going to try to do those all the time, right? Mm-hmm. That's something that we talk about. Play to your strengths, right? If you're great at something, if you have a superpower, let's do that as much as possible, right? And if there's other things where you're not as strong, well, then we want to just do that less. Like, that seems obvious, but it's a little more difficult to get everyone doing that all the time. And I think when you get guys to really understand where their strengths are, it helps them not just in their own play, but it helps them understand how they complement their teammates and how they can put their teammates in positions of strength as well, right? So, a lot of it's just playing to your strengths, understanding, shot profile, time and score, what are the most efficient, high-value shots for each individual, and then how do we get to them, right, within the construct of the offense that we talked about earlier.
All right, I'm going to sign off with this. One basketball thing that Lobo fans should know, non-basketball thing, that Lobo fans should know about you, your family coming out here.
Yeah, we're excited to be there. We can't wait to be part of the community. My wife and daughters are, they're everything, and we can't wait to, meet everybody and just get started and being big parts of the community and Lobo Nation.
You a music guy? You a movie guy? Anything like that? Is there? Music.
What's that?
What kind of music do you like?
Honestly, I'm listening to a lot of basketball podcasts. I'm listening to, here's the one thing is I'm probably a little on the boring side from that standpoint, because for me, it's all about, like, if I have any time, it's me and the family, and the rest of it is just all of this, pouring everything that we have into building great basketball teams that are gonna be the kind of teams that everybody wants to see and come out and cheer for in the pit.
Well, if you have two daughters that are 7 and 9, right? They're 7 and 9. Then I know what you're.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I don't get to pick the music. It's a lot of Taylor Swift and Chappell Roan in my house right now.
Yeah, I got a 15-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old daughter. A weird little 10-year gap there, but I can tell you that this door that's behind me that's shut over there. Like, I come into this little office here and I hide out in here because I got a wife, a teenage daughter, and a 5-year-old daughter. So I don't stand a chance out there. I try and keep it in
hopefully it didn't come across in the podcast, but there's some sort of like race going on in the hallway out behind me as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Eric, look, I appreciate it. This has been a fun 15-minute conversation, and I do look forward to getting to know you a little bit better and covering whatever team you end up putting together this in the next, I guess, few weeks. It doesn't all have to be done in the next few weeks. That's just when players have to get into the portal. But I imagine the bulk of this Lobo roster will probably take form in the next three weeks to a month, I would think.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I appreciate you having me on. It's great to meet you, and I'm looking forward to visiting in person here real soon.
All right, there you go. There was our conversation with Eric Olen, the new UNM Lobo men's basketball coach. Cool demeanor, nice guy. Told him 15 minutes, and it ended up being 40. So I'm already, being the annoying media guy, and he will, I'm sure, love me immediately once he gets that presser later in the week, an introductory presser, and he will start to love the local media attention that he hasn't been too used to there at San Diego. So I do appreciate Eric for doing that, and it's an exciting time. I've talked to some national writers. I've talked to, as you heard during the podcast, the commissioner of the Big West. I've talked to some other people about Eric. I've yet to talk to anybody that knows Eric and is aware of his game and coaching that has anything bad to say about this hire. So the upside is very high for the UNM Lobos. If it pans out, Fernando Lobo is going to look like a genius, and Lobo fans will be pretty happy. So we'll see. We'll see if it pans out, and hope you guys enjoyed this conversation and all our coverage in the Albuquerque Journal. abqjournal.com/subscribe is how you can support local journalism and all our coverage, not just Lobo basketball, but all our sports coverage. And until next time, thanks for watching.